WarioWare Inc. Mega Micro Games is a weird game that can be hard to categorize. It mostly consists of short mini-games delivered in an extremely quick fashion. This creates frantic gameplay scenarios that can be hard to find elsewhere. While this is an interesting concept, the WarioWare series has been very inconsistent over the years, and certain entries are liked much more than others. Could a Wario game actually come close to the quality of one starring as Plumber Nemesis? Or should he just stick to being in sports and party games forever? While the development of WarioWare didn't start until the early 2000s, the concept was thought of much earlier. The idea of very short minigames, or microgames, was first used in the Nintendo 64 disk drive game Mario Artist Polygon Studio. Only released in Japan as the disk drive never came to the States, the game can best be described as a 3D graphics editor that allows the player to design 3D models with a low amount of detail. However, the Sound Bomber mode is pretty much just WarioWare. Out of the 8 microgames present, 6 of them appear in WarioWare. The development of WarioWare began in secret, as the developers didn't want their managers to find out. Designer Yoshida Sakamoto said that they chose Wario for the game because he, quote, is always doing stupid things and is really idiotic, so we thought him and the rest of the characters would be best for the game. It was developed by a team of newer Nintendo employees, some of which had previously worked on Wario Land 4. Hirofumi Matsuoka directed the game, and he is mostly known for directing Wario games, the Mario Artist series, and for working on some of the Metroid games. After eventually getting the okay from their manager, the full development of the project began. When it came to creating the microgames, all of the team members wrote down their ideas on sticky notes, attaching them to Matsuoka's desk. Because all of the team members had to design the microgames themselves, the graphical style of each game is unique. As word spread around the studio, people who were not even involved in the development of the game began to submit their own ideas as well. Shigeru Miyamoto put a lot of thought into how Nintendo should market WarioWare. He wanted to showcase the uniqueness of the experience and its pick up and play nature. He gave the team the approval to use the slogan, more, shorter, faster, which appeared extremely large on the Japanese box art, even bigger than the game's logo. Made in Wario, as is referred to in Japan, was released in March of 2003, and 2 months later in the US and Europe for the Game Boy Advance. While Nintendo didn't have high hopes for the game commercially, positive reception led to a steady growth in sales. The president of Nintendo, Satoru Iwata, requested a port of the game for the GameCube be made as soon as possible. WarioWare Inc. Mega Party Games was released just a year later. It reused all of the minigames from the original, but had more of a focus on multiplayer. After the release of the original, director Hirofumi Matsuoka left Nintendo. Goro Abe, who played a prominent role in the game's development, became the director for all subsequent entries. Since the original's success, there has been a WarioWare game on every Nintendo system besides the 3DS. Each new game usually focuses on a specific gimmick, like the Wii Remote, or WarioWare Twisted's built-in gyro sensor and use of force feedback. The newest entry in the series, Game & Wario, was released in 2013 for the Wii U. It received mixed reception, with reviewers stating the mini-games were uninspired. Some speculated that the Nintendo Switch launch title, 1-2 Switch, was originally supposed to be a WarioWare game, but this was quickly denied by Nintendo. WarioWare's wacky presentation is where the game really shines. From the menus to the way the microgames are presented, its charm is what really drives home the idea. While hanging out at his home in Diamond City, Wario sees a news report stating that a new video game has made tons of money. This leads to Wario thinking of all the money he could make if he made a video game. The next day he buys a laptop and gets to work. After realizing that developing a video game is hard work, he calls his friends and asks for help, to which they agree. They then form WarioWare Inc. with Wario as the president. They decide to make microgames as developing a full game would be too expensive, and Wario wants to make as much money as possible naturally. Eventually they finish the game, and it becomes a financial success. Wario then pockets the money and escapes on a rocket. However, after scientist Dr. Krygor accidentally crashes into him, Wario crashes into the ocean and loses all of the game's profits. Wario can then be seen crawling out of the ocean, stating that he still hates everyone. WarioWare focuses on its graphical style instead of trying to impress with high-quality graphics, which largely improves its presentation. The story cutscenes look great on the GBA screen, and everything fits together so nicely that it's hard to say anything negative. The character designs here are great as well. It's surprising to see so many new characters for a Nintendo side series like this, but it makes it that much more interesting. The microgames vary in their graphical style as mentioned earlier, and this constant change combined with the fast pace makes it so that you really never know what's going to come next. While the music isn't anything to write home about, the sound effects are where the game really shines. Every microgame has a variety of sounds, and it really helps to sell these as different games rather than just parts of the same game. As the music gets faster and the sound effects harder to distinguish, it really makes you panic. The intense nature of the game as you get farther into one of its stages is made that much more so by the music. Just as I mentioned with the graphics, the overall presentation of this game is excellent, and while no particular element stands out, combined, it makes for a memorable experience. WarioWare features 200 microgames in total, and most of them only last 4 or 5 seconds. They can be many different things, but all feature simple commands like catch or jump as soon as the game starts. You'll have a timer displayed on the screen, and if you either fail or don't do it in the time provided, you'll lose one of your 4 lives. These games for the most part are very fun and intentionally frustrating sometimes, although we never got frustrated enough to just stop playing due to its fast nature. Like most people, my favorite microgames were the ones based on classic NES titles like Metroid and Mario. The main story focuses on stages where the player must complete a series of microgames based around different characters. These are all pretty unique from each other and all feature a certain theme. These themes are things like sports or sci-fi. Whether it's Jimmy's disco flip phone or Dr. Krygor's toilet, the wackiness of it all continues to carry the game. Each stage begins and ends with a cutscene and features a boss stage. All 11 stages must be completed to beat the game. After beating each stage, it can be played again in an endless state to get a high score. While these don't need to be played again, you need to do so if you want to unlock the bonus content. While nothing significant, the bonus stuff can be an interesting distraction from the main game. There are 2-player stages, extended versions of certain microgames, and finally, the tower stages that combine all of the microgames into one giant gauntlet. Lastly, there is grid mode, which allows you to see what microgames you've unlocked and which ones you're still missing from each stage. This not only allows you to track your progress, but to play a certain microgame over and over in all of its different difficulties. This can be helpful if you're having trouble getting the timing down on a certain game. As you can see, we have had little to no bad things to say about WarioWare. While certain Nintendo franchises struggle to innovate, the creation of this series saw a unique and very fun gameplay type come to fruition. None of the other WarioWare games quite reach the highs of this game, and it's easy to see why. This game features no gimmicks or forced peripheral usage, and it's better for it. Now, if only Nintendo could see that and give us a good WarioWare game for the Switch, it would likely get the praise the series deserves. But I'm sure if we ever do get one, it will feature the forced usage of the Joy-Cons and their HD rumble. With Nintendo's recent foray into mobile gaming, a WarioWare mobile game could fit nicely as well. WarioWare holds up tremendously, and it should be played by anybody looking for a fun and casual gameplay experience. Wow!